Hi everyone and welcome to our first lesson on learning Bahasa Indonesia. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about something very basic but also very important, pronouns in Bahasa Indonesia. Now, you might be wondering, why do I choose to explain pronouns first instead of greetings and introductions? Well, when you introduce yourself, you're going to need pronouns. For example, you're going to need to say, I am from the United States, or I live in Indonesia. And when you talk to someone, you also need to know how to say you. But there are actually some interesting things about pronouns in Bahasa Indonesia that you need to know. Some pronouns are different depending on the situation, and there's even a special distinction for the word we that doesn't exist in English. So let's take a look. Let's start with the easiest one. We have saya and aku, which mean I or me. For example, saya Hana means I am Hana, or aku Hana, I'm Hana. So what's the difference? The main difference is formality. We generally use saya in formal or polite situations. For example, you can use saya when you are at work, in a business setting, talking to a teacher, speaking with someone you've just met, or talking to someone who is significantly older than you. For example, saya bekerja di sebuah universitas. I work at a university. Or, nama saya David. My name is David. On the other hand, we use aku in informal situations. You can use aku when talking to your close friends, your partner, or people you are already comfortable with. For example, aku tinggal di Yogyakarta. I live in Yogyakarta. Or, aku suka kopi. I like coffee. So, an easy way to remember this is saya is more formal or polite. Aku is more casual and personal. But keep in mind that Indonesians don't always choose pronouns based only on age. The relationship between the speakers and the situation also matters. Okay, next we have Anda and kamu. Both can mean you. Just like saya and aku, the difference is mainly related to formality and context. Anda is formal. You might see Anda on websites, advertisements, customer service messages, or in formal communication. For example, apakah Anda tinggal di Indonesia? Do you live in Indonesia? Meanwhile, kamu is much more common in everyday conversation with people you are familiar with. For example, kamu tinggal di mana? Where do you live? Or, kamu suka makanan Indonesia? Do you like Indonesian food? So, you can think of it this way. Saya and Anda are for formal context. Aku and kamu are for informal context. However, there is one important thing to remember. Even though Anda is technically the formal equivalent of kamu, native speakers don't necessarily use Anda when talking to every person they don't know. In everyday conversation, we often avoid directly using a pronoun and use a person's name, title, or a term such as Pak or Bu instead. For example, Bu, sudah makan? Have you eaten, ma'am? Or David, kamu sudah makan? David, have you eaten? Okay, next we have kita and kami. I think this is the most interesting part of today's lesson. In English, you only have one word for we, but in Bahasa Indonesia we have two, kita and kami. The difference is very important. Kita includes the person we are talking to. So, kita is used for I plus you plus possibly other person. For example, When I say kita pergi ke restoran, we are going to the restaurant. If I say this to you, it means that you and I are going to the restaurant. You are included. Now, what about kami? Kami does not include the person we are talking to. So kami means I plus other person but not you. For example, when I say kami pergi ke restoran, this means we are going to the restaurant, but you are not coming with us. Here is another example. If you ask me, what did you and your friends do yesterday? I would answer, kami pergi ke pantai. It means that we went to the beach, but you weren't part of the group that went to the beach. But if I say, kita pergi ke pantai, so it means you and I went to the beach. So, you need to remember, kita means we, including you. Kami means we, excluding you. This distinction is one of the most important things for English speakers to understand when learning Indonesian. Also, both kita and kami can be used in formal and informal contexts. Okay, next we have mereka. Mereka means they or them. For example, mereka mahasiswa. They are university students. Or, saya kenal mereka. I know them. Unlike saya or aku or Anda, kamu, mereka doesn't have a formal and informal version. You can use mereka in both formal and informal situations. And finally, we have dia and ia. I think this is another interesting difference between English and Bahasa Indonesia. In English, we have different pronouns for male and female. He for a man and she for a woman. But in Bahasa Indonesia, we don't make that distinction. We use dia for both. So when I say dia adalah guru saya, it can mean either he is my teacher or she is my teacher. You need to understand the context to know whether dia refers to a man or a woman. For example, when I say, saya punya teman baru, dia berasal dari Australia. It means I have a new friend, he or she is from Australia. The pronoun doesn't tell us the person's gender. Okay, now what about ia? Ia also means he or she, but there is a difference in usage. Dia is much more common in everyday conversation. Ia is more commonly found in writing or more formal contexts. For example, in a story or formal text, you might see, ia pergi ke Jakarta kemarin. However, in everyday conversation, we would say, dia pergi ke Jakarta kemarin. Okay, let's quickly review everything we've learned today. Saya or aku means I. Anda or kamu means you. Kita means we, including the person we are talking to. Kami means we, excluding the person we are talking to. Mereka means they. And dia or ia means he or she. Alright, that's all for today's lesson. I hope this video helps you understand the basic pronouns in Bahasa Indonesia and gives you a better idea of how Indonesians actually use them in everyday communication. If you have any questions about Indonesian pronouns, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. And if you're learning Bahasa Indonesia, don't forget to follow along for the next lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to learn some useful Indonesian greetings and how to introduce yourself. See you in the next lesson. Thank you for watching.